All right, diving in today, folks. We're tackling something that's, well, kind of crucial in any job. Personal protective equipment, or PPE for short.
Yeah, everyone's heard of it, but
But do we really get it, you know? We've been digging through tons of training manuals trying to distill this down to what you really need to know, like, yesterday.
exactly. The need to know straight up.
Especially because, depending on where you work, the hazards are different, the gear changes.
Totally. And that's where understanding the whole hierarchy of hazard control comes in. PPE, it's like your last line of defense.
Right, like you try to get rid of the danger completely first.
Exactly. Elimination. Then you look at substituting, using something less risky.
Okay, makes sense.
Then engineering controls like machine guards or ventilation systems.
So basically you make the workplace itself safer.
Exactly. Then administrative controls, changing how people work, training them properly.
And then finally, if all else fails, you've got PPE.
Yeah, but sometimes it's the first line of defense against those unavoidable hazards.
Right. Like you wouldn't weld without a face shield. Right. Or handle chemicals with bare hands.
No way. That's when PPE is absolutely essential, right from the get-go.
Okay, so PPE isn't about preventing the hazard itself, right?
Nope. It's about minimizing the damage if you do encounter it. Think of it like a seatbelt in a car.
Oh, I get it. The crash might still happen, but the seatbelt lessens the impact.
Exactly. But just like a faulty seatbelt can do more harm than good, using the wrong PPE or wearing it incorrectly can create new risks.
That's a good point, and something a lot of folks might not consider.
Yeah. And remember, PPE covers you from head to toe, literally. It's about protecting your head, eyes, ears, face, hands, feet, body, and even your respiratory system.
So let's get into the types of hazards, the big four we were talking about earlier. Chemical, physical, mechanical, and electrical.
Right. Chemical hazards, you're looking at anything from gases, vapors, liquids, to dusts. These can mess you up in a lot of ways, Skin injuries, respiratory issues, eye damage, even poisoning if it gets into your system.
Yeah, I've had some horror stories.
Then you've got physical hazards. This is where it gets a little more broad. But things like extreme temperatures, hot or cold, bright light, loud noise, radiation pressure changes.
Okay, that makes sense. And mechanical hazards, that's all about, well, machines, right?
Precisely. Moving parts, sharp edges, pinch points, anything that can crush, cut, or otherwise injure you.
Ouch. And lastly, electrical hazards, which I guess is pretty self-explanatory, anything involving electricity.
Yeah, from using power tools to, God forbid, directly contacting live circuits.
Not a good time. Now, before we get into the specific types of PPE, what are some of the pros and cons of using it in general?
Well, on the plus side, PPE is often relatively low cost, readily available, and pretty easy to use.
Right, it's not like you need a degree in rocket science to put on a hard hat.
Exactly. And as we said, it can be the first line of defense for some jobs. However, the downsides are that it doesn't eliminate the hazard itself.
Yeah, that's a big one.
And its effectiveness really hinges on selecting the right gear for the specific hazard and using it properly. And of course, it only protects the wearer.
Right, it's not a bubble that protects everyone around you.
Exactly. So let's dive into some specific types of PPE, starting with head protection.
Okay, helmets. You see those everywhere.
A good reason. They're your primary defense against falling objects, electrical shock, and impact hazards.
What makes a good helmet, though?
Well, it needs to be lightweight, comfortable, yet impact resistant. It shouldn't absorb liquids, should have a secure and adjustable harness system, and sometimes offer earmuff attachments for noise protection.
Oh, and those different colors you see, is there a reason for that?
Absolutely. There's a color coding system, though it's not always universally followed.
Yeah.
But you might see white for supervisors, yellow for general laborers, orange for road crews, and so on.
It's like a visual shorthand for who's doing what.
Exactly. Now, you got different types of helmets, too. Type I primarily protects against impacts to the top of the head, while Type 2 offers both top and side impact protection.
Makes sense. And then there are electrical ratings, right?
Yes. Class C helmets offer no electrical protection whatsoever, so you'd never wear those around electrical hazards.
That seems counterintuitive, doesn't it?
You'd be surprised how often that mistake happens. Then you have Class AG, which protects against lower voltages, up to 2200 volts. And then for the high voltage work, you've got Class BE, which protects up to 20,000 volts.
Wow, it's a lot of juice.
Absolutely. And remember, even with a good helmet, you can't just wear it any old way. It needs to be worn correctly. Nothing underneath that could interfere with the fit.
Like no baseball caps underneath.
Nope. And replace it if it's ever damaged. Even something as simple as leaving it out in the sun for too long can degrade the material.
Really?
Yeah, sunlight can do a number on plastics over time. And watch out for stickers. They can hide cracks and damage.
Good to know. Now, what about those bump caps you see some people wearing? Are those real helmets?
Not really. Bump caps are lightweight, often made of plastic, and they're only designed to protect against minor bumps and vibrations, not serious impacts or electrical hazards. They don't have a suspension system like a real helmet.
So, not for heavy-duty work.
Definitely not. Now, you might also come across helmets made of different materials like Tyvek or nylon for vapor resistance, or duck material for dust and flying object resistance.
So, choosing the right helmet is about way more than just picking a color you like.
Exactly. Let's move on to foot protection, shall we?
Yeah, safety shoes. Those are pretty important too, especially in environments with, well, heavy stuff.
Absolutely. Safety shoes protect your feet from a lot more than just stub toes. They have features like steel toe caps to protect against falling objects.
Yeah, you don't want to drop a wrench on your foot.
Definitely not. They also protect against punctures from sharp objects on the ground and offer overall protection from chemicals and electrical hazards depending on the material of the sole.
So what kind of soles are there?
Well, you have your standard leather soles, but then you get into specialized ones, like electrical insulating shoes, which are typically rubber without any carbon, because carbon conducts electricity.
Right, wouldn't want that.
Then you have chemical-resistant boots, usually made from synthetic or natural rubber or corrosion-resistant plastic. Anti-static rubber for environments with flammable materials.
Interesting.
And of course, long rubber boots for wet environments and insulated boots for extreme heat, sometimes made with asbestos, but always with a protective leather covering and leg protection.
Sounds like there's a shoe for every occasion.
Pretty much. And it's important to choose the right one for the job.
Okay, so we've got our heads and feet covered. What about body protection?
Well, that can range from your basic overalls and aprons to more specialized gear like plastic-coated suits or overalls for chemical protection, leather aprons for welding and handling sparks, Nomex overalls for non-flammable protection.
Wait, Nomex? Isn't that what race car drivers wear?
Exactly. It's fire resistant. And then you've got reflective jackets and vests for visibility on roadways or at night.
Right, you want to be seen.
Definitely. And for some really extreme hazards, you have suits made with aluminum backing to reflect radiant heat.
Wow, like firefighters.
Exactly. And lead-lined suits for protection against X-rays and gamma rays.
So it's not just about clothes, it's about specialized protection for different situations.
Right. And remember, when it comes to electrical work, non-conductive rubber is your best friend. That applies to shoes, gloves, and even aprons.
So basically, anything that can come into contact with electricity.
Precisely. And speaking of electricity, did we mention those high-voltage helmets are tested at 20,000 volts?
No, we didn't. That's impressive.
It is. Now let's move on to face and eye protection.
All right, keeping those peepers safe.
Absolutely. And your face in general.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are tons of hazards out there, flying particles, dust, electrical work, chemical handling, machines, lasers, impacts, even heat.
Yeah, your eyes are pretty delicate.
They are. So you've got your basic glass safety glasses, plastic safety glasses. Those can come with or without ventilation, or be tight-fitting goggles for more protection.
Got it.
And then, of course, you have welding shields for those super bright arcs and transparent face shields for more general face protection.
So many options. How do you know which is the right one?
It all depends on the specific hazard. But one thing's for sure, good eye protection shouldn't distort your vision. There should be no light refraction so you can see clearly.
That makes sense. And I bet there are some specialized lenses for specific hazards.
You bet. There are special lenses for thermal radiation, like when you're working with molten metal, leaded glass with side and top covers for protection against ionizing radiation, and then those heavy-duty masks for abrasive blasting, like sandblasting, that protect your whole face from the grit.
Wow, that's intense.
It is. And like with any PPE, keeping your face and eye protection clean is crucial. Washing with soap and water is generally preferred over just wiping them. And if they're damaged, replace them, no question.
Got it. Now let's talk about noise.
Yes, our ears. These are often overlooked, but super important.
Yeah, because noise is something you don't necessarily feel the effects of right away.
Exactly. You might not realize the damage you're doing until it's too late. Noise intensity is measured in decibels, or dB, and the permissible exposure limit is 85 dB for 8 continuous hours.
So that's like how loud it can be for how long, right?
Exactly. Prolonged exposure to noise above that limit can cause irreversible hearing damage. It's actually considered an occupational disease.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yes, a serious issue.
Yeah.
And that dB scale It represents the smallest difference in sound that the human ear can perceive.
Okay, so how do you know if you need hearing protection?
Well, a simple assessment is this. If you're having a conversation with someone at arm's length and have to shout to be heard, then the noise level is probably high enough that you need hearing protection.
Makes sense.
OSHA actually has a whole table that outlines permissible noise exposure limits. Basically, the louder the noise, the shorter the amount of time you can be exposed to it safely.
Okay, so it's not just about whether it's loud, it's about how long you're exposed to it.
Exactly. Now, to understand why noise is so damaging, you got to think about the anatomy of the ear. Inside your ear, you have these tiny hair cells that help you hear.
I vaguely remember that from biology class.
Well, when you're exposed to loud noise, those hair cells get damaged. And the thing is, they don't regenerate.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's permanent damage. And the effects of noise exposure go beyond just hearing loss. It can cause psychological stress, difficulty concentrating, impact your heart and blood pressure.
Wow, it's way more serious than I realized.
It really is. It can even have physiological effects like dizziness, nausea, and problems with balance. And of course, it makes communication difficult.
So what kind of hearing protection is out there?
Well, you have earmuffs, which kind of look like headphones, and can reduce noise by 15 to 35 dB.
Those are the big ones, right?
Exactly. Then you have earplugs, which fit inside your ear canal and offer 20 to 30 dBs of noise reduction. But you have to insert them properly, roll them up, pull your ear up and back, and hold them in until they expand to fill your ear canal.
Okay, technique matters.
Definitely. And there are also canal caps, which are pre-molded and fit snugly in your ear canal.
Interesting. So how do you choose the right protection level?
Well, according to American standards, there's a 7 dB safety factor built in. So you want to choose protection that reduces the noise level to at least 7 dBs below the permissible limit.
Okay, better to be safe than sorry.
Exactly. And earplugs, they're often made of compressible materials like urethane, so they can conform to your ear shape.
Makes sense.
Uh-huh.
So besides choosing the right protection, what else is important for protecting your hearing?
Regular audiometric testing. It's recommended that you have a baseline test within 6 months of starting a job where you're exposed to noise, and then regular follow-up tests to monitor your hearing over time.
So basically keeping tabs on how your ears are doing.
Exactly. Now let's move on to hand protection.
All right, gloves. Those are pretty essential in a lot of jobs.
Absolutely. And the type of glove you need depends entirely on the job and the hazards involved. I mean, your hands, they're your primary tools for so many tasks.
Yeah, you need them for just about everything.
Exactly. And they're vulnerable to all sorts of hazards, absorbing harmful substances, getting cut by sharp objects, abrasions, punctures, chemical burns, thermal burns, electrical shocks, you name it.
Yeah, it's a long list. So what are some of the different types of gloves?
You have cut-resistant gloves, often made with materials like Kevlar. Then you have rubber or plastic gloves for protection against chemicals, electrical insulating gloves for electricians, and anyone working with live wires.
Right, those are usually pretty thick.
They are. And then there are heavy-duty gloves for welding, specialized lab gloves for handling delicate or hazardous materials, and general safety gloves that offer some level of protection against multiple hazards.
So basically, a glove for every occasion, just like with safety shoes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, the last type of PPE we'll talk about is respiratory protection.
All right, protecting those lungs.
Absolutely. And this one can get pretty complex because the type of respiratory protection you need varies drastically based on the type of contaminant you're dealing with.
Like dust is different from fumes, right?
Exactly. You could be dealing with dust, gases, vapors, fumes, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And the protection needs to match the specific hazard.
So what are the main types of respiratory protection?
Well, there are two main categories. Air supplying respirators, where you're basically bringing your own clean air supply, and air purifying respirators, which filter the air you breathe.
Okay, so one gives you clean air, the other cleans the air you're breathing.
Exactly. Air supplying respirators include things like airline trolley systems, where you're hooked up to a supply of clean air, and SCBA, which is a self-contained breathing apparatus like what firefighters use.
So those are for when the air is really bad.
Exactly. Air purifying respirators include things like full-face masks with filters or cartridges that remove specific contaminants and filtering face pieces, which are essentially high-tech masks that filter out particles.
Got it. And one last thing, height protection.
Ah, yes. For anyone working at heights, harnesses and fall arresters are absolutely crucial.
No one wants to take a tumble.
Definitely not. So, to wrap all this up, the big takeaway is this. PPE is super important, no doubt, But it's only one piece of the safety puzzle.
Right. It's not a magic bullet.
Exactly. It has to be the right gear for the specific hazard, used correctly, and part of a bigger plan to minimize risks.
So knowing the specific hazards of your workplace is the first step.
Absolutely. And that leads us to a final thought for our listeners. With all the changes happening in workplaces and new safety technologies emerging all the time, how can you stay informed and proactive about your own safety in the long term?
That's something to think about. All right, folks, that's our deep dive into PPE. Stay safe out there.
Stay safe.